All right, so here we are in the turtle lab, and I want to give you, we don't have these up in the greenhouse because they have to be kept fairly warm. Can't really get as cold as we are up there. But these are, I'm going to show you the star tortoises. All right, and there's two species. There's Geochelone elegans, which is the Indian Start Tortoise, and then Geochelone platinota, which is the Burmese Star Tortoise. Both of these are endangered, critically endangered. The Burmese Star Tortoise are thought to be extinct, and then they found a population, and they're breeding them. The Turtle Survival Alliance is breeding them and has successfully bred them and released a lot into the wild. But we still don't have a lot of information on wild populations for the Indian Star Tortoise, but it is commonly found in the pet trade. So they're still getting them somewhere out in the wild. We just don't have a lot of good information on population numbers in the wild. And they're critically endangered, and they just got the highest level of protection from CITES, so they're Appendix 1, which means there's no trade in them. So now anything that's moved out of the country, whether it's Sri Lanka, Pakistan, or India, is illegal. They cannot be moved out of the country for the pet trade or any trade. So and here they are, very beautiful looking tortoises. Both the Burmese and the Indian, very beautiful looking tortoises. And so one thing very unique about these, well, you can see they're very domed, which is common in other turtle species. With the Indian Star Tortoise, the big thing is, like I said, pet trade. They're found commonly in the pet trade, but in the wild, we don't know much about them. And that's kind of the issue, right? We know all about these things in captivity, we know what they eat, we know when they breed, and all the information, life history information, we've gotten from captive individuals, not from the wild. Very few studies, and recently really no studies that we know of, have really pointed to this species and how it's doing in the wild. All right. So one little difference, they're very similar species, but in the Burmese mountain tortoise, you only have 6 stripes per scute, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see this has 7, whereas in the Burmese, it's always 6. And Indian, it can be more, and they can typically get more and more as they age. So these are fairly young, but you can see with tortoises, they don't shed their shell. The newer, right, here's the newer scute. They don't shed the older scute. So they get this kind of pyramid look. You don't want really bad pyramid, that means a nutrient deficiency, but with this level, it's okay. And then if we look over here, we have a larger one, Indian Star Tortoise. And you can see there's a lot of, I'm getting more and more those striations in the shell. All right, so these are the Indian Star Tortoise. Very common in the pet trade. In the wild, they eat lots of vegetables. Right, they live in a dry, arid habitat. Normally like a typical large tortoise, not like the Minoria emys, which likes the rainforest, the forest, the cool mountain streams to live in. These like the dry, arid, hot areas. So we have to keep them very warm. But they will drink water, of course, they need to, but in the wild they get a lot of their moisture from the plants that they eat, their food. So this is a very interesting species because we know a lot about them from captivity. They're very common in the pet trade, still common, but we hardly know anything about them in the wild, and it could be almost extinct in the wild. So that's the issue, right? We have all these in the pet trade, but we don't know anything about them really in the wild. So here, the very beautiful tortoise, those black and yellow. They actually have a yellow shell with black pattern. Even though it looks like a black shell with yellow, it's actually a yellow shell with a black pattern in it. All right, I hope you liked this last episode. And yeah, have a Merry Christmas, everybody.